Welcome to Olympian Water Testing, giving you the best in water analysis. Today we are looking at your household water quality, lead and copper. And this is something that we want to understand so we can know about the allowable levels of lead and copper. And during the recent history of indoor plumbing, both pipes and plumbing fixtures have been made of lead and copper or their alloys. And sometimes it can be made of copper and still have lead in the service lines. It can be vice versa. Since the Safe Drinking Water Act, however, lead has been phased out. That doesn't mean it's still not a problem in older homes or infrastructure. And they could be alloys such as brass. Some solder used at copper pipe joints may also contain lead water. So even though lead pipes are gone per se, it could still have lead. Why? Because of the pipe joints or somewhere else. And water can dissolve small amounts of these metals from plumbing, which upon drinking may be harmful to your health. In 1992, the lead and copper rule established by the U.S. EPA became effective and required that municipal water suppliers must treat water to reduce concentrations below action levels of 0.015 milligrams lead per liter or 15 parts per billion, and 1.3 milligrams copper per liter or 1.3 parts per million. Keep in mind, however, that the EPA does not regulate private water supplies such as well water, nor can the EPA control the lead and copper contamination that may result from your household pipes. So, can drinking water that contains lead or copper make me sick? That is a definite yes. Both lead and copper are harmful when too much is ingested. But lead is definitely more toxic. Actually, there's no safe amount of lead, where some amount of copper can be okay. Lead damages the brain, nervous system, kidneys, reproductive system, and red blood cells. It is more toxic to children than adults and can harm their mental and physical development. Copper is much less toxic than lead. However, elevated levels of copper for 14 days or more can cause permanent kidney and liver damage in infants under the age of 1 year, and it can cause nausea, vomiting, diarrhea in people of all ages. Also, people with Wilson's disease, 1 in 30,000 people worldwide, cannot excrete excess copper. They cannot metabolize it, and that also is a health risk. And it can accumulate to a poisonous level. If not detected and treated, this disease can be fatal. So don't overlook copper. Also, take a look at the maximum allowable levels of lead and copper. We can see lead, Pb right here, 15 parts per billion, and copper, 1.3 parts per million. And staining and bitter taste level as well. So what do you do if your water contains lead or copper? If lead or copper exceed a safe amount in your water supply, there are 3 general measures that can be taken to correct the problem. Control the water corrosiveness so it does not dissolve as much lead and copper from the plumbing. Remove the source of the lead or copper in the plumbing. Remove the lead or copper by treating the water before drinking. Options 1 and 2 are preferred alternatives. And what is corrosion control? Well, low pH hardness and alkalinity and low dissolved solids all increase the corrosion of plumbing. To assess corrosion potential of the water, analysis of the water using the Georgia Expanded Water Test Package is something you can use. A saturation index is calculated from the measured values to assess the need for treating the water to reduce corrosion. And treatments commonly recommended are typically increase the pH by adding calcium carbonate or magnesium oxide. Corrosion of pipes is greater if ground wires are connected to them, and a professional electrician can be called to correct the problem. There's also surface removal. The EPA has banned the use of lead and solder in plumbing systems in 1988, so households built after this time should be free of lead. But the EPA did not ban the use of copper because of its concentration in water is also easily controlled by treating the water to reduce corrosiveness. Lead's in the water above the limit. One or more following needs to be corrected. The presence of 50/50 lead tinder solder at the plumbing joints. The solder is dull gray and shiny or scratched, whereas 95/5 tin antimony solder remains shiny. Brass fittings in well pumps, lead containing well screens and or packing collars, lead pipes and service lines in older homes. What are the treatment options for lead and copper removal for drinking water? You can do reverse osmosis, distillation, and ion exchange. Don't drink water from hot water lines since the lead and copper are more soluble. Water stood overnight will have higher levels of lead and copper, and allowing cold water to run 1 minute before drinking is advisable. So hopefully that gives you a good look into lead and copper, especially in your household and dealing with your pipes and your plumbing system. So with that in mind, it's always a good idea to periodically test your water for any levels of lead and for elevated levels of copper.